Yeah, this is how we're going to start the show, right?
That's my boy, Phil.
Let's go, baby.
That's
Let's knock it
my
out.
boy.
Oh, yeah, we ready, man. Let's go.
Today's subject, it may not be the most interesting, but it is important.
It's super important.
Okay?
Don't sleep on
it. It gets overlooked a little bit. Okay? Top 10 defenses to start the day. Defenses and special teams. Let me give credit to the special team guys. And then we're going to go into top 10 kickers. And it won't be as long as the other fantasy lists, but nonetheless, still important.
Quick.
Because sometimes these teams can win you a week. There's kickers out there like Younghoe Koo was kicking 6 field goals a game. And
Younghoe Koo is fucking... It's Young-Ho.
Young-Ho.
He has the best name. Young-Ho Koo. That's fire as shit.
Yeah, but like he legitimately won some people 2-3 weeks last year. So this shit matters, guys.
I'm not gonna lie. I'm kind of mad at my parents for not naming me Young-Ho. You know what I mean? Like
Young-Ho Pasillo. Oh my god.
It flows perfectly.
So how about this? I will pass it. Actually, you know what? I'll do Mike's list first, and then I'll pass it to you, Nick.
All right, that sounds good.
So that no one has to hear my voice for too long. I mean, you know, I'm trying to spare the audience a little bit. One sec, let me bring it up. All right. Top 10 defenses. This is Paul's top 10, all right? Number 1. Actually, let's go 10 to 1. Excuse me. Number 10, the Saints. Number 9, the Colts. 8, Bills. 7, Niners. 6, Rams. 5, Dolphins. 4, Steelers. 3, Patriots. Wow. 2, Bucks. They're not number 1. Number 1, Ravens.
Wow.
They're always in the top 5. So
I'm going to tell you right now, I wish he was here.
Oh, when he said this to me, I was like, hold up. The Bucks are number 1? Weren't we just talking about this? Didn't we just like spend half of, okay, not half our show, but legitimately 15 minutes of our show was me going back at you about the Bucks defense being godly. Did he miss that part of the show?
I think he did. He was sleeping over there. Well,
Good
he was lounging, so I guess he missed part of that show. So, yeah, I don't know.
What am I about to do?
Yeah, face palm. The infamous face palm right there.
He knows this by now. This is going to be one of our episode pictures for sure. At some point. But that's Paul's list.
Okay.
God bless him.
Yeah. I'm shocked, honestly.
But
I was shocked.
We'll get to it.
Yeah.
Nick, you take it away now.
Yeah, so I'll start with number 10 going to 1. I have the Buffalo Bills at number 10. Number 9, I have the Cleveland Browns. Number 8, I have the New England Patriots. Number 7, I'm with Paul's on this one. I got the Niners at 7. I got 6 is the Colts. 5, the Baltimore Ravens. 4, Tampa Bay Buccaneers. I know you're shocked of. I know.
You too?
Listen, man. Look, I
go ahead. I'll let you.
3, the L.A. Rams at number 3. 2, Pittsburgh Steelers, and number 1, the Washington Football Team. They are the best defense in the game. I believe in them.
That was also part of our argument, actually.
I believe in them
because, I mean, they were the closest team to beating. I almost said Patriots for a second.
Yeah, I know, right? It's crazy.
They were close.
I know, like when you think of Brady, you think of the Patriots, but like
they were the closest team, though, and that was part of our argument. I mean, that front seven.
No, I love their defense,
God.
And that was my argument too last week. Saying, like he beat that defense. I think he was going to beat him regardless of quarterback, but whatever. That's another argument for another day.
Mm-hmm. For everyone that missed that, though, go back. I mean, the last show was awesome. I encourage you to watch the whole thing. You don't want to miss any fantasy advice or the division picks. We talked about the most stacked division in the league. That was the NFC West. By the way, quick thing, because I might have had a brain fart last show. I was sitting here saying Cardinals aren't making the playoffs, right?
Yeah.
And I went through it again. I went through all my projections and everything, and I realized, oh, wait a second. There's another wild card. There's 3 of them. So I want to correct myself.
So wait, you're saying all the teams in the West are going to make the playoffs?
I am.
That's ballsy, bro.
I know, because they're going to kick the shit out of each other. But I wanted to correct that before we get too far in, the rest of the shows before the season. I'm sure we're going to cover this. We're going to cover like the overall playoff picture in our last show before the season starts. But I just want to point that out. That's going to be one of my bold predictions. That every team in the NFC West makes the playoffs. All right.
That's pretty bold, bro.
I know.
That's never happened, obviously, because this is like the new rule just kicked in. So
exactly.
That'd be crazy.
So that's going to be one of my bold predictions. But anyway.
All right. So who's your top 10, Mike?
The defenses, and to your credit, Nick, Washington football team's defense is nasty. You can definitely justify them being there. Let me start with my number 10 though, and this is going to be a surprise. Number 10, the Philadelphia Eagles.
You're such a homer. You're such a homer.
To say it for
I
Mike.
have to. I miss them across the table right now.
Number 9, the Dolphins, who honestly I almost removed from there earlier today. Number 8, the Colts. Number 7, the Bills. Number 6, Washington football team. Number 5, the Rams. Number 4, the 49ers. Number 3, the Steelers. Number 2, the Ravens. Number 1, the Bucks. I can't believe I'm the only one who has them there. I thought for sure if I was a betting man, I was going to bet that you would have them at 1.
Well,
I swear.
Here's my reasoning.
Tell me why.
I feel like they're going to be like I feel like the Bucks are going to blow a lot of teams out. So I think a lot of garbage time points are going to go against their defense. So I think that hurts their fantasy value, in my opinion. Whereas Washington's going to be in a lot of close games. And they actually just, they signed William Jackson III in the offseason, pairing with Kendall Fuller. They got very nice corner on that team. Along with the front seven,
I know.
They're going to be lethal.
They could lead the league in sacks.
Exactly.
But this
a lot of turnovers. I just believe in them.
Oh, there's Paul's.
I'm here. I love my team.
He's here. Wow.
Is it me or is the room cloudy? What are you guys smoking? Sour.
But I'll tell you this right now. The reason why I got the Eagles at 10 is the same reason you might have. I mean, you got to pay attention to sacks. The Eagles could possibly lead the NFL in sacks. That's the first reason why I have them at 10. And also, I expect that under Jonathan Gannon, they're going to force a lot more turnovers than the last few years under Jim Schwartz, where I didn't love the play calling, I'll be honest with you. I'm not going to sit here and dump on Jim Schwartz all show. I don't feel like doing that. He did win a Super Bowl for us. Thank you very much, but I was ready to move on.
Foles did, but, you know.
Exactly, right? I mean, he gave up one less touchdown than the other team. Okay. Great job, Jim. But no, I actually think this defense is going to be very aggressive, and I love the Steven Nelson signing, which essentially cured the secondary issues, in my opinion. Makes me feel a lot better about that. So that's why I have them 10th, because I think they could finish number 1 in sacks. Bucks, though. Bucks and Washington. So I actually am going to use the same logic as you. The reason why I have the Bucks at 1, well, they were the number 2 fantasy defense for about half the season last year, and then they went on a cold streak up until almost playoff time. And when they
finished 9th.
Yeah, so that's when they heated up. I mean, also schedule was a little something there, but they really hit their stride, obviously, in the playoffs, where we saw them just lock everybody down. Agreed. Lock all windows and doors. They said, Aaron Rodgers, you ain't throwing on us. Drew Brees, noodle arm.
Retirement.
Okay? Retirement. We're going to send you to retirement, brother.
Yeah.
Okay? Patrick Mahomes, no, you're not going to get any throws off tonight. Todd Bowles said, my unit's not giving up shit. They gave up the most to Taylor Heineke of all people.
I know. Which is actually crazy, though.
They just locked everyone up.
But that just shows you how good the Washington football team really is.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? Like, it's a credit to them as well.
They're so close.
I know.
I fear what will happen if they get a quarterback.
I can't wait to break down the NFC East.
Me too.
One day, so.
But my point, though, I was going to say this. Because the Bucs will be blowing teams out, that allows the defense to do things that you can't do all game in a tight game. For instance, just send the fucking house. Hey, we're kicking your ass. I'll send the house a little bit more. I'm going to make it worse for you. You just change the defensive game planning and calling when you have leads. You can do a lot more. You can play a lot more aggressive, So I think that they're going to come out of the gates with all their starters returning, and I think that they're just going to dominate. I expect the offense to be right there too. So to me, it's just like picking up where you left off.
And Todd Bowles, he thrives with the blitz too. Exotic blitzes, he's very good.
And not to mention I have to point out that their division's a little bit weaker. So there's 6 games right there where I think that they could just maul people. Like that's why I have them there. And in Washington, the reason why I have them at 6, obviously
I was shocked.
Like they're really good.
Yeah.
And part of this, like, you can attribute some of this rankings to however your league is scored. I tried to just go standard here, but some leagues reward touchdowns more than others. Some reward points against or yards against more than others. In this circumstance, I think that Washington, because of the offense, which should be a lot better, by the way, like they should be a very competitive team. I think that they're going to be in a lot of close games. And that is kind of my logic there, where they might not be able to do everything that they want to do on the defensive side of the ball. But they have so much talent that they have to be ranked that high. They have so much talent, they might have the best front 7 in the league.
I think they do.
They might have the best defensive line in the league.
Yeah.
Chase Young could win Defensive Player of the Year. That's how good he is. So I won't be surprised in the slightest. Like, honestly, you could have flip-flopped a number of the teams in the top 5. I'll just point out a couple right now. The Ravens and Steelers have been in the top 5 for the last few years. The Ravens always have great special teams, low-key. The Steelers seem to find the end zone, and they always lead the league in sacks. I think it's 2 or 3 years in a row they led the league in sacks.
With T.J. Watt.
Yeah, I mean, like each of these teams have lost some players, but the one thing about the Steelers, who they were so dominant on the defensive end, don't forget they have Devin Bush coming back, who literally might be, I mean, probably the least talked about star linebacker in the game because he was hurt.
Yeah.
He's literally a star, and he's going to get talked about a lot this year. So the Steelers, right then and there, they could easily finish number 1.
They were second last year.
Yeah, they were
Total
second
points,
pretty much
points.
the entire year.
Yeah.
The Rams finished first, so the Rams lost some pieces too, but they also lost Brandon Staley, and that's kind of the reason why I have them targeted for a slight drop-off. I don't want to be too disrespectful and knock them all the way off the list, because when you have the best defensive player in the game and you have the best cornerback in the game, Aaron Donald and Jalen Ramsey respectively, you got to give your respect.
Oh, yeah, absolutely.
Right?
And you know, I'm shocked that Pollard had New England at 3.
Me too.
But, like, when I think about it, I mean, they really loaded up this year. You know, I mean, they added Matthew Judon. He looks like he's going to be a star in New England. They have Gilmore and J.C. Jackson. They didn't really lose much on the opposite side. They actually gained Kyle Van Noy back. He was awesome for the Patriots. He's the reason why he got paid in Miami.
Yeah.
So
they were able to bring him back.
He's a system guy, and I can see the Patriots actually possibly cracking, the top 5 if those players are still what they are, obviously from a couple years ago. But that is a defense I'm intrigued by this year too.
I am too. I think that I just wanted to see it first to believe it. Like, also, Dante Hightower's coming back.
Yeah.
This is one of the best players in the league.
Right.
I mean, they had the most COVID opt-outs in the NFL. So I expect that they should be a lot better. And I think that all 3 of us, I mean, we're going to touch on the Patriots a little later, but I think that we expect them to be a much more competitive team. So, yeah, I think that they should definitely be better there. And they still, I mean, look, so here, they had 18 interceptions last year. They had 4 defensive touchdowns, which is second, and they were 7th in points allowed. So, like, they were still a good defense. They were just not a good fantasy unit. They were still a good defense. And that's without all the players we just named.
Yeah.
But the Rams, though, like, I mean, they lost. So they lose Brandon Staley, who was obviously a very good defensive mind. You lose Michael Brockers. You lose John Johnson. You lose Troy Hill. These are guys that led their team in snaps. Like, these are big cogs in their defense. And they may not be known, but
they're starters.
Yeah, I mean, so that to me, yeah, like you have to account for those kind of losses. The back end is, I mean, I don't want to say shaky because you still got Ramsey back there, but I mean, you gotta pay attention to it.
And also, they're gonna have a tough schedule in that division too. They're gonna be playing the Niners, who are gonna be much improved this year. They're going to be playing the Seahawks and the Cardinals. I mean, they're all high-powered offenses. So you got to think about that, too, when you're drafting defenses. Always look at the schedule. I mean, that's always what I do. I go to strength of schedule, and I just look down the line. What quarterbacks are they going to be playing? Are they playing the most top 10 quarterbacks in the league? And if they're not, and you believe in that defense, I would snag him in the draft.
I mean, I'll be honest here. The way that I approach defense is if you don't get an elite unit, like a unit that you know will be in the top 5, I would wait till the second to last round of the draft unless, like, there's one that's so glaring that's available the third to last round. Like, if the Bucs were there in the third to last round or the Steelers were there, okay, I'd consider it depending on who's on the board. But generally speaking, though, you're not going to carry 2 of them, so you're likely going to drop them during their bye week. And they are kind of interchangeable. Like, if you're in a 10-team league, likely you're going to be able to get a pretty damn good streamer. So I'm like, okay if you want to stream all season too, but you got to definitely pay attention to the matchups.
Okay, so you interchange your defenses when you
really
play
depends. Like, even I had the Bucs when they were number 2. I drafted them in all my leagues last year. I had them in every single league, and I even dropped them because I noticed the writing on the wall. They were falling apart a little bit, and they had their bye coming up. So, like, what I did in advance was I had an injury or something. I put said player on the IR, and I scooped up a defense that was going to be used a week or 2 later, and then I dropped the Bucs when that player came back. And that's the way you can approach it with defenses and kickers too. Kickers, like, unless you got the number 1 or 2 guy who are literally, like, if they're leading the NFL in fantasy points by a wide margin, you may consider keeping them.
Yeah, I feel like, if I have a top 5 defense, I'm going to leave a roster spot for a guy that's expendable. So when my bye week comes up, I could scoop up a defense and keep my top 5 defense. Just so, for me, it's hard to come by, man. They can win you and lose you a game.
I mean, because depending on your scoring settings, really, like, there are some defenses out there that win you weeks. If the Steelers are putting up 25 points in a game just randomly one week, like, you want to have them on your team.
Speaking of,
you don't want your competition getting them either.
Yeah, so, well, speaking of, 2 years ago, New England was like the best option. They were getting 30 points a week.
They were literally putting up quarterback production for half a season.
Insane. So like, you can't drop something like that. That's why I would keep somebody on my roster who's expendable, just in case a bye week comes up, because you don't want to drop them. Somebody's going to scoop them up and hold them.
And always, these are things where, like, it all depends on what's on your roster and how many bench spots you have. And these are things that you want to ask us all season long. Like, if you ask us these questions during the season, you give us a little breakdown of your team and your league, it's a lot easier to tell you what to do.
Yeah.
But, to touch on another team, I think that the Bills came on late last year, right? The Bills were expected to take a leap, and they were kind of like middle of the pack for a while, and then they really heated it up during fantasy playoffs. They won some teams some games, so you would expect them to be better this year, I think, right?
They finished 8th last year. I still have them top 10.
I got them 7.
You got them 7? Yeah, so top 10 I think is still pretty good.
Like, I wonder if they're going to get enough sacks to be there.
Yeah.
They kind of have, like, they have a mix of veterans and young guys in their core. So, I don't know, like, relying on, like, Jerry Hughes, to me, like...
And AJ Epinoza or something like that? Is that what
they got a bunch of no names?
He was like a rookie last year or 2 years ago. I know they're expecting, big things out of him. So, I mean, it depends on the edge rushers' production this year.
But the Bills had 3 consecutive top 9 finishes, so, like, you do have to pay attention to that. They probably should be. You definitely have to draft him. They have Ed Oliver too, who's one of the low-key best defensive tackles in the league. You got Tre'Davious White, who's a shutdown corner. You got Micah Hyde and Jordan Poyer. They're both pretty good. Jordan Poyer, former Eagles 6th-round pick, who was ass and really turned it around.
Yeah, I was there. I was with the Eagles when he was there.
Yeah, me too.
So he's been in the league for a minute.
I think that's when you and I crossed over at the Eagles.
Yeah.
I mean, that's just saying something like. We don't want to get into that. We'll let Mike do the talking with the Eagles. But yeah, I mean, the 49ers. So we all seemingly have them bumped up. I think this is just a matter of health, right? You got Nick Bosa coming back, probably D Ford. I mean, and then you got guys like, I mean, you lost Robert Saleh. You got to point that out. But you got Kinlaw, who was a draft pick. You got Fred Warner there already. They might have one of the best linebacking cores in the league. You got Eric Armstead, who should have a rebound year with the attention off of him a little bit. I mean, Nick Bosa could lead the league in sacks.
He could.
He's that good.
He could. He's a beast.
So, I mean, I would imagine they're definitely a lock for top 6, top 5. I mean, I had him 4.
I have him 7. Again, I think it comes down to division they're in.
Like, and the other thing is you can never predict defensive touchdowns, special teams touchdowns. I feel comfortable with teams like the Ravens there because John Harbaugh is a special teams guy and always has a nice special teams unit. I mean, the Bucs, that's another reason why they might not finish number 1. Their special teams have been ass
Yeah.
for a long time.
Yeah. I think they're missing a kick returner, honestly.
Yeah. I mean, a lot of teams are.
Yeah.
A lot of teams
They're hard
are.
to come by.
And the Colts lost a couple pieces this year, too.
You can't always find a Jeremy Bloom, you know what I mean?
Jeremy Bloom. Oh, my God. What? If you don't have a professional skier on your roster or an Olympic medalist on your roster, you're done.
Yeah.
If you don't have Reno Mahe returning punts, you're definitely fucked.
You're fucking screwed.
I give him a call right now.
Just bend over and take it.
He can get you 2 yards. Jesus Christ. Wow. Reno Mahe and Jeremy Bloom. Wow.
Oh, my God. That's too funny.
The Colts, though. So, I just want to touch on them real quick because they were arguably the best defense in the NFL last year at multiple points this season, and they were like a bunch of no-names to most people. I mean, you should know who DeForest Buckner is.
Beast.
He is an absolute monster.
Don't sleep on him. He was a monster in San Fran, and he was well worth the trade for them.
Darius Leonard was a little banged up, and we just talked about that. He might be the best linebacker in the NFL.
Arguably.
I mean, he's right up there.
Yeah.
You got, I mean, they lost Justin Houston. That's a pass rusher. You lose Malik Hooker. Great name. But let's see here. So they finished no lower than 12th in INTs, forced fumbles, sacks, yardage allowed, and points allowed since 2013. So they're pretty solid across the board usually. But last year they really ascended to the top of the ranks. So we'll see. I mean, that was a breakout unit. And they lost their defensive coordinator to the Eagles.
Yeah.
So
they're just an interesting team overall.
They are.
Because they have a Super Bowl roster, but it really depends on the quarterback's health. Mm-hmm. You know what I mean?
Well, we're talking about them later in the week.
Yeah, I'm excited about that.
And just so everybody knows, I mean, I'll just save it to the end of the show. It was one because then it's out of order, and I gotta fuck with that shit after the show. I'll just leave it alone.
Yeah, I agree.
We'll hold that thought about the quarterback. I noticed that you had the Browns in your top 10, right, Nick?
I have them 9th.
They were 9th, and it looks like Mike did not have them.
I'm surprised. I mean, I think the addition of Jadeveon Clowney, along with Myles Garrett, that's going to cause havoc.
Yo, they brought in John Johnson from the Rams.
Yeah.
They got Tack McKinley, Malik Jackson, who I know he was buried on the depth chart with the Eagles, but he was also hurt. He's going to be, I think, their second defensive tackle. You drafted Greg Newsome from Northwestern. Shout out Northwestern. I wanted him so badly with the Eagles. Shut down corner. Okay.
It's funny though, because I feel like a lot of these teams are following the model of having 2 legit pass rushers on each end.
And they might have 2 shutdown corners because Denzel Ward.
Yeah.
I mean, he's been nicked up.
Former first-round pick.
He could be a top 5 corner if he actually plays the whole season.
Yeah.
He's really that good.
Yeah, he's talented as hell.
So they got the pieces. They got the talent. That roster's all talent. But they just haven't done it for us yet. They haven't finished higher than 15th in fantasy points as a unit since 2001. So I think maybe that's my reasoning for not wanting to take a shot. And if I was going to take the Dolphins out of the top 10, I probably would have bumped the Browns in just because the talent is off the charts.
Yeah, I feel like the Dolphins lost some pieces, though.
They did.
I feel like that's going to hurt them. The departure of Van Noy. They lost some other pieces as well on that front 7, too. So, I feel like that's going to hurt their ability to crack the top 10 for me.
Because they
have the corners. The corners are great. Don't get me wrong.
So they were tied with the Patriots for most interceptions in the NFL last year with 18. And that's with Byron Jones actually struggled mightily in his first year with the Dolphins. I mean, that was a major free agent signing. Xavier Howard's a stud.
Oh, yeah. He's worth every penny.
And he's happy now, I assume.
Yeah.
They had 28 turnovers, too. That led the NFL. They were a nasty defense. But I think that the reason why I moved them down is because I think that they're going to be a team where their defense is going to be on the field a lot more this year.
Right.
Because of Tua. I mean, other than that, they have the talent too. They really do. And they have Jakeem Grant returning kicks. That's a special teams guy that you want to pay attention to. He always has at least one return touchdown a year. I think he's had 4 of the past 5 years he's had a return touchdown. They did bring in their first rounder, Jalen Phillips, and they brought in Bernard McKinney, who's one of the better off-ball linebackers in the league.
From Houston.
Yeah, so, I mean, they lost Van Noy. They replaced a number of guys, but yeah, we'll see. It's kind of like one of those things where it's a gut feel sometimes, too. It's just like the Dolphins just don't do it for me.
I feel like defenses are just a crapshoot.
It really is. Like once you get past the elite units.
Yeah, exactly.
Anything can happen. Like I said, streaming is totally fine.
I agree with you there.
I see one other thing that Mike had that we didn't have, besides the Patriots. He has the Saints there, who I think we can all acknowledge they absolutely have the defensive talent. Like that's the best part of their roster right now.
Oh, yeah, I totally agree with that. Yeah.
So this is another thing, right, where we expect the Saints to just kind of, I don't want to say nosedive, but none of us really think that they're going to be playoff teams. We're going to be covering that division later in the week, but I don't know.
I feel like their defense is going to be on the field a lot, and I think they're going to be gassed, and I think they're just going to give up a lot of points and a lot of yards, and I think it's going to be like that all season because I'm not a big believer in their quarterback situation right now. So I could see that defense being gassed early. And it's going to trickle down for the rest of the season. So that's why I didn't have them in my top 10. But they are talented. Don't get me wrong.
Yeah, I mean, you got Cam Jordan, who, again, this is another guy who you could argue is the best in the league.
Oh, he's a pro.
Right up there. He's just...
No cat.
Ridiculous. And they also were tied for the lead in interceptions with 18. So, I mean, this is another team. They finished top 10 in 3 of the last 4 years. So you have to kind of give them their due there. But, I mean... Man, I don't know. That's a tough one. They lost Sheldon Rankins. That's a low key big loss on the interior line. Lattimore has been up and down.
He's only good against Mike Evans.
He should be elite, like in every game. But I don't know. He's so inconsistent for me.
It's only when he plays Mike Evans is when he's a shutdown corner. And
I mean, they're 3 like most important defensive players. You would argue Cam Jordan, Demario Davis, and you could even argue Malcolm Jenkins just from an importance standpoint. They're all each 32 years old, so
yeah.
I mean, Malcolm Jenkins can only do this for so much longer. I mean, I definitely still think the Eagles made a major mistake not bringing him back, not just because of his obvious talent, but for the locker room too. You know, but at some point these guys are going to fall off a cliff. It's just a matter of when. I don't think Davis and Cam Jordan are doing that anytime soon. But Malcolm Jenkins, you know, he's getting up there.
Yeah, he is.
He's played a lot of football.
Let's ask the audience, who do you guys think is the best defensive fantasy football team this year? We are intrigued to hear your best defense this year. I have Washington football team. Mike had the Bucks.
Yep.
And Polidor had who?
He had the Ravens.
The Ravens. So we're all different.
You could justify it.
So we're all different. So I want to hear from you guys and see what you guys think. We're very curious.
Yeah, I mean, it looks like I see Papa Pasillo has his number 1 defense is still the Rams. I mean, you can't really blame him. Ryan Dietz going back-to-back with defenses in the 5th, 6th rounds. Andrew John comments, this is so true. Dietz takes 3 defenses every year in the draft.
3 defenses?
Yeah, he's fucking wild, bro. I should ask Dietz who the best defense is. You know, Dietz is going to take the best defense, so I know I'm not going to have the Bucks anyway. I mean, they were a sleeper pick for me last year.
You're a Raider. That's funny.